Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be reviewing the Heroine and Mayhem Godfest that is coming up or is live at this point in time. So, the Heroine and Mayhem Godfest is going to feature 3 different Pantheons across 2 days with only 3 times rates. Furthermore, the Godfest exclusives will also be only at 3 times rates. However, all the roles that are featured will come out at level 50 with plus 10 to a random stat. Non-featured Godfest exclusives will not appear on those respective days. So, presently speaking, I would say most players are at least thinking about or trying to pursue cards for the new flavors of the month, Dark Athena and Reincarnate Kusanagi Hime. Unfortunately, this Godfest does not feature Haku. However, there are a lot of other valuable cards for these two teams that are featured, so it may be worth pulling, even though there is not necessarily the greatest rates, because the featured cards are actually some of the more powerful Pantheons available in Puzzle and Dragons, so it's kind of a frustrating experience. On one hand, we have great Pantheons, and on the other hand, we have bad rates. But then again, we might have, say, future Godfest with bad Pantheons and good rates, so where does this leave us? Furthermore, perhaps one last thing that is a little sad is that there is actually no color gala occurring at this point in time, because normally there is, like, say, a Gala of Flames, Gala of Tides, so on and so forth, but at this point in time there's this weird Tamadra gala. Basically, you pull and you get one Tamadra as a freebie. Okay. But here is the overall lineup for day 1 and 2, and I'm going to be going through basically the tier list for each of them respectively. So, I've decided to scratch my symbols because I don't know why it says symbols there, but symbols, I guess, they look good on paper, but they're, I think, harder to convey in terms of messages. So, I've gone with S, A, B, C, D to replace, like, the checkmark system, as well as I still retain the up and down arrow though, because that is still a universally helpful thing. And I also include a plus, like a simply nothing whatsoever, and a minus sign to further differentiate cards within the respective letter tiers. So on day 1, for the condensed form, we basically have 2 cards in the S tier and then 7 in day 2. Obviously, it kind of flips into A side as being the more populated by day 1. Day 2 has a healthy amount as well. We have a 3 in B, and then 2 in, well, 1 each in C. So, like, this is a pretty stacked Godfest. Like, it's very top heavy by comparison. However, if we do break up the tiers into the respective pluses and minuses, day 1 actually has 2 of the best cards in the entire game. Whereas day 2, it still has very powerful cards overall, but they're just not as game-breaking and overpowering as Reincarnated Kusanagi Hime and Ganesha. So again, I include both of these tables just so it gives you a little bit of a nice quick reference and then a further breakdown, because it's just going to help you decide whether there's enough value for you to roll. Because what you should be doing when deciding whether to roll or not is determining if there is actually merit or value for the cards that are featured. If, let's say, you are missing basically all the cards in S tier on day 2, it probably is a good idea to actually roll in day 2. Conversely, in day 1, say you're missing most of the top cards, it may be worth pursuing. Like, that sort of idea. That's the thought process you should be having, because everyone's monster box is different, and what you want to try and populate it with will vary from person to person. So just because I say a card is good, it may not necessarily be the best for you overall, especially if you have most of the other cards that are featured. So, in terms of impressions, like, these are powerful Pantheons. Like, these are pretty top heavy. Like, there shouldn't be that many S tier cards, but there are a lot, because in all honesty, the heroes are still tremendously powerful. Diao Chan and Sima Yi are both amazing. Real is basically like the Wood Dark Athena team. Like, it's obviously weaker, but it's comparing to Dark Athena, it says a lot. Kusanagi Hime is probably, like, in all honesty, Kusanagi Hime could probably have her own tier, but that's just going to screw my formatting, and really Haku probably the only other card with her, because Haku and now Kusanagi Hime are just amazingly, somewhat overpowered broken cards. And in all honesty, if you are able to roll a Kusanagi Hime, even if you don't have a harem of Hakus, you're still going to be looking pretty good, just because of how innately powerful and fast scaling she is. And then I guess one last thing I want to stress is that there is going to be a Player's Choice Godfest quite soon, because we haven't had one for X period of time, and this is about the time frame, relatively speaking, when another one will occur. So if this does not look appealing to you, it may be worthwhile to actually hold off rolling and vote intelligently. I want to stress this again and again. I'm probably going to do this in every article subsequently. When voting for Player's Choice Godfest, please vote for Pantheons. Don't vote for 6-star Godfest exclusives. And now we come into the Pantheon tier list. And again, this entire article will be linked in the YouTube description down below, so you don't have to pause the video and worry about the play symbol in the middle. But basically, I've just been reshuffling cards around. Mostly just, I guess maybe I've undervalued some cards and I've moved them up. Possibly I've had a chance to play around with them. Or maybe I have overvalued some cards, which is generally not the case. I tend to try and undervalue and then move up instead of overvaluing and then dropping back down. But there has been obviously movement at the top. And then one thing I do want to mention is that due to the way power creep works in this game and the fact that Gung Ho does not actually nerf monsters, we're always going to be, to a certain extent, having cards being pushed up to the point where everything just kind of gets raised up too high. So possibly maybe every couple of months, maybe I'll do like kind of a soft reset where I push everything but the very top tier down one peg, maybe, and then just move things up accordingly if they deserve to. That way it kind of still preserves the whole idea like the S plus tier is kind of exclusive, kind of amazing, while having cards at least healthily ranked. So basically Loki moved up to the top because Loki just became amazingly powerful. We have Perseus, we have Andromeda, as well as an S tier, have Anubis. We have basically the hero cards rounding out S-, and I moved Diao Chan, Sima Yi, and Ren up because, again, they're very powerful cards, and they should probably be up there as well. But moving some other cards back up into A, mostly the Wood TPA cards, because Ryul is powerful, and in all honesty, they have 7 combo awakenings, or in Vishnu's case, triple TPA. Parvati has full bind immunity. Like, it's just powerful overall. And then moving forward, like I put Claire up a bit because Claire does have merits on Kusanagi Hime and even Dark Athena teams, mostly in solo mode. But like she's quite close to Haku. Obviously not exactly like Haku, but she is a decent replacement if you don't care about SBR coverage as well as high weighted stats. That's why Haku is at the top as well. And then not much movement down the bottom. Like I don't think I really moved many cards. Like nothing's really shifting or changing for them. So nothing too exciting, but I feel like this tier list will hopefully keep... it gets, I think, a bit more refined every week, mostly because I had enough time. It's very hard to make one from scratch, and then once you put things in, see them, and after a couple weeks, you kind of shift things around. It's getting a little more stable. I'm probably going to start adding in the new JP cards soon, so stay tuned for that. And in terms of Godfest exclusive tier list, again, I'd like to rank the Godfest exclusive cards against each other. And the only real change that happened was Anaphon. She went from C to A. She probably should have been in B to begin with, and I guess I'll concede that maybe that was an oversight on my part. So being moved into A makes sense if she, but it looks like she moved up a lot. But this is mostly because Anaphon does have merits, at least on teams nowadays, because of the fact that dark teams are a lot more strong and prevalent, because right now Haku is kind of the in thing. Dark Athena is also in, Kusanagi Hime is also in. And even though Anaphon produces a 4 elemental board, there are heart orbs as well as 3 ideal color orbs, because Haku's are dark fire, Dark Athena is dark water. So by producing those 3 colors as well as hearts, you are at least able to have all your cards activate damage. And what I want to stress is that 4 element boards tend to be weak because in the past we've had leaders with lower multipliers, whereas nowadays we have leaders with much higher multipliers, and they're not monocolor in the sense that they need to stack rows and heavily have boards skewed to their primary color. And right now we kind of want to have combos, and 4 element boards tend to have a lot of combos ready made, and we don't have to have an overwhelming number of dark orbs present to succeed. And this is why I feel Anaphon is a lot more powerful, especially as an inherit, because of the way she acts as a great SDR buffer against Hephaestus Dragon in Solo Arena 3, as well as being able to heal. And being able to heal at the same time as dealing damage is a big deal. And because Dark Athena, Kusanagi Hime teams do crazy amounts of damage at 7 combos, you don't have to have a bazillion Dark Orbs. Even just 1 TPA with the 7 combos tends to make things fall over. So that's why I feel like Anaphon does deserve this promotion. And there will be new Godfest exclusives coming out in the future. I'll probably look at them soon. They still have probably a month plus before they come to North America, so I'm in no hurry. And one thing I want to mention is that Gadius does not move up because Gadius's colors don't help out, whereas Anafon's are helpful. So putting it all together. So basically this is kind of like the too long you didn't want to read or listen version, and basically it just ranks all the different featured cards as well as where they appear in their relative ranking brackets. So in conclusion, like, this is a powerful Godfest because there are many high-ranking Pantheon cards as well as like a modest amount of Godfest exclusives, but perhaps the fact that they're 3 times rates is a little off-putting, so you may or may not want to roll, especially if you're only missing a couple of them. The chances are they're not going to be as common. And furthermore, like I did mention before, there will be a Player's Choice Godfest soon, so something to look forward to and save your stones, provided the players vote intelligently. So, let me know what you think about the Heroines and Mayhem Godfest in the comments below. If you decide to roll, I wish you the best in your rolling adventures. Have a mantastic day, and happy puzzling.